It is my third book, and today we're going to read Franklin Forgets, because sometimes we forget to do things, and it's hard to remember. But I think Franklin's going to learn a lesson today. So this is Franklin. We've read one book before with Franklin. He's the little turtle. And he does look very sad here, doesn't he? Or a little worried, maybe surprised. What do you think he's going to forget? Can you go tell somebody? I'll give you a second. Okay, here we go. Franklin Forgets. Franklin fed his goldfish every day and tidied his room once a week. He helped his parents rake leaves in the fall and shovel snow in the winter. Franklin liked doing chores. It made him feel very grown up. Do you guys have chores to do at your house? Can you tell somebody one of the chores that you do? Or a chore that you think you could do? In our classroom, we kind of had chores, huh? We help clean up at the end of the day and stack the chairs. And we take them down in the morning. That's right. There we go. One day, Franklin and his friends were putting the finishing touches on their go-kart. Mr. Mole stopped to admire their work. "All you need is a horn," he said. "Maybe I'll discover the perfect one on my travels." "Are you going away?" asked Franklin. "Just for 4 days. Let me see if I can move that where you can see it better. There we go. Answered Mr. Mole. "First I have to find someone to do a few chores for me while I'm gone." Who do you think he's going to ask to do his chores for him? "I could do chores, Mr. Mole," Franklin offered eagerly. "Thank you, Franklin," replied Mr. Mole, "but it's a big responsibility. I think I need someone just a little bit older, more grown up." "But I'm more grown up than I used to be," insisted Franklin. "And I do lots of chores at home." Mr. Mole looked at Franklin and thoughtfully. "All right," he agreed. "You've got the job." And Franklin smiled proudly. You see that? Pretty exciting for Franklin, huh? That afternoon, Franklin went to Mr. Mole's house to get his instructions. He had 3 things to remember: collect the mail, fill the bird bath, and water the garden. "And that's every day," Mr. Mole reminded him. Franklin nodded. "I won't forget," he replied. Okay, so let's look really quick. So a bird bath, in case you don't know what a bird bath is, this is the bird bath right here. And it's got water in it. And really what it is birds hop in there and they can clean off, or sometimes I bet they get a drink of water. Here's the garden over here. And what do you see in the garden? Can you tell what's in there? Yeah, flowers. And then he has to get the mail. And I don't really see a mailbox in this picture, but I'm guessing if this is where the house is, the mailbox is probably at the end of the yard over by the gate. All right, let's see what happens. Early the next morning, Franklin collected Mr. Mole's mail and filled the bird bath. He was about to water the garden when Bear and Beaver came along. "Do you want to fly kites with us?" asked Bear. "I can't," said Franklin. "I have to water these flowers." "Can't you do it later?" asked Beaver. Franklin thought for just a minute. "Okay," he said finally. "I'll do it this afternoon." And Franklin ran home to get his kite. What do you think is going to happen later that afternoon? It wasn't until supper time that Franklin remembered the garden. Look at him, he's looking outside. Look. But he said, "I'll water it first thing in the morning," he decided. But the next morning, Franklin noticed that the sky was dark and cloudy. Thought Franklin. "It looks like the rain will water Mr. Mole's flowers better than me." Should he really just worry about the rain doing it, or should he go over and check it all by himself? I think he should go check it and make sure that the flowers got watered, because that's his responsibility. Especially when you tell someone you're going to do something, you've got to do it, huh? Yep. Franklin was wrong about the weather. The sky cleared up, the sun shone bright and hot, and Franklin spent the whole day swimming. He didn't remember his chores until bedtime. "I won't forget tomorrow," he declared. Boy, it looks like he's having fun, though. Look, he's swimming. And then here, though, but he's like, "Oh, I can't forget that tomorrow." So how many days has he forgotten to water now? He didn't do it yesterday, and then he didn't do it today. So 1 + 1 is 2. 2 days. How many more days till Mr. Mole gets back? So let's count up to 4. We'll shake it. 2, 3, 4 days. So he's still going to be gone for 2 more days. Boy, I hope Franklin gets this taken care of. But in the morning, Franklin was too excited about his baseball game to think about anything else. After winning, he and Beaver were so busy celebrating that Franklin forgot again. Then he saw his mother mailing a letter. "Oh, no!" cried Franklin. "My chores!" Franklin and Beaver rushed to Mr. Mole's house, so they're running really fast. Franklin's heart sank when he saw Mr. Mole's yard. The bird bath was empty, and the mailbox was full, and the flowers lay withered and wilted on the hard, dry earth. Wilted and withered means, look, are they the pretty red flowers anymore? No, the sun kind of almost like baked them. We're going to learn about plants here real soon, guys. And they have to have water to survive. And look, they didn't get their water. Thumbs up if this is good. Thumbs down if this is bad. It's bad, isn't it? Darn it. Franklin collected the mail. Let me get it so you can see it. I'm sorry. Franklin collected the mail and filled the bird bath, but he didn't know what to do about the flowers. "Maybe they'll perk up if you give them lots of water," suggested Beaver. "Good idea," said Franklin. "I'll let the hose run all night." So now he's going to give it extra water. You think that'll work? I don't know. Let's see, okay? Here we go. The next morning, Franklin and Beaver discovered that things had gone from bad to worse. The garden was flooded, and the flowers were ruined. Franklin hurried to turn on the hose. "What are you going to do?" asked Beaver. Franklin thought hard. "Maybe I could plant the paper flowers I made at camp. They might look real." Uh-oh. Do you think that's really going to solve the problem? I don't think so either, guys. I like that he's trying to come up with an idea. I just don't think that one's going to be the answer. Franklin raced home to get his flowers. He and Beaver planted them right row upon row in the soggy ground. "How does it look?" asked Franklin. "Like a bunch of paper flowers," said Beaver. Franklin felt like crying. The garden looked terrible, and Mr. Mole was coming home that afternoon. I mean, look, he did try. Can you see? Here's the flowers, but you can tell they're taped and they're just made out of paper. They're not real flowers, and Mr. Mole left a garden with real flowers. Uh-oh. Franklin couldn't stop thinking about that garden all morning. After lunch, he waited anxiously for Mr. Mole by Mr. Mole's gate. At last, Franklin saw Mr. Mole coming down the road. Franklin's tummy flip-flopped. Here he comes. He looks excited. Look, Mr. Mole's like, "Hey, how you doing?" Uh-oh. "Hello, Franklin," said Mr. Mole. He reached into his bag and pulled out a shiny new horn. "I didn't forget," he said cheerfully. "But I did," said Franklin in a shaky voice. "I forgot to water your garden, and now it's ruined. I'm sorry." Now, Franklin," said Mr. Mole, "I'm sure things can't be that bad." And then he opened the gate and gasped. Remember, gasp is kind of when you take a big deep breath and go, oh, like you're surprised. Gasped. Here he is. It's all my fault, Mr. Mole, Franklin said sadly. You were right. I'm not grown up enough. Well, the garden is a bit of a mess, said Mr. Mole. But it took a lot of courage to tell me the truth. Taking responsibility for a mistake is a very grown-up thing to do. If it helps, I'll help you plant new flowers. Would that be grown-up too? Franklin asked hopefully. Mr. Mole smiled. It sure would, he said. So even though he made a mistake, boys and girls, he didn't make up a lie. He didn't say that something else had happened. He was very honest and told them exactly the truth, what happened. Before long, Mr. Mole's garden was growing again. You know, Franklin, said Mr. Mole, with all your help, my garden looks better than ever. Well, Franklin replied, I do have 2 green thumbs. And that's kind of a joke because if you have it's a saying, you say I have a green thumb. I don't really have a green thumb. Green thumbs mean that you're really good at making plants grow. So Franklin helped him get his garden back to being nice and pretty and growing well. And he said he has 2 green thumbs, but it's kind of a joke because he's a turtle and he really does have 2 green thumbs. I hope you guys like this book today. Remember, if you do make mistakes, always tell the truth. The truth is always better than making up another lie. And if you're got a responsibility, you have to remember to do it and don't put it off for later. You have to be responsible and do it right now and just get it done. Okay? I miss you guys. We'll see you soon. And hey, if you watch this, let me know. I want to see who's watching. I can't tell who's watching the videos, but if you send me a little message, I'll know if you did. All right, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.